For some weird reason in this game, snipers are a 2-shot kill to the head in some cases. I have no idea what they're doing with Warzone 2.0, but we'll leave that for a whole different video. This video is going to go over what are the best 5 sniper support weapons you should be using inside Warzone 2.0. And starting off with the first weapon on this list. Now, the inspiration for this one actually came from Jowo and his live stream. He was actually using a blueprint variant of this gun, but if you want the more optimal build for the sniper support variation of the MINIBAK, then this is the build you want to be using. Now, when it comes to the rear grip, you do want to choose the true TAQ grip. Now, it will help with the sprint to fire and aim down sight speed. Now, of course, you do want to use your attachment tuning and bump it all the way up to recoil steadiness and idle stability control. And that is the best way to kind of use this attachment here, even though it is kind of an attachment that's going to help more kind of with aim down sight time and stuff like that. Then we are using the McAree stock, which kind of, to be honest, is one of the best attachments across the board for most of the weapons in this game if it is available. And that's because it doesn't really con your recoil that much at all from the testing we've done in game. Now, for the McAree stock, when it comes to the bonuses, obviously you get aim down sight speed and you get sprint to fire as well as crouch movement, which crouch movement isn't really too important, but in this game is a bit more important than previous COD games, let's be perfectly honest, because there's no slide cancelling and everyone's just camping more or less. When it comes to attachment tuning, you want aim down sight time maxed out on that left hand side slider, and then aiming stability once again maxed out as well. So again, we're just getting the max control if we can. And then when it comes to the optic, you could choose whatever you like here, to be honest. I just like the Slimline Pro. You could choose any of the other red dots, or you could choose the Cronin Mini, which is the blue dot. Anything low zoom is going to be pretty decent here, so just make sure you're choosing something that's relatively low zoom. You don't want to go too crazy with it because it is still an SMG at the end of the day. When it comes to attachment tuning, max out the aim down sight speed, and then also put the eye position to it as far as possible to reduce the visual recoil of the weapon. OLE laser just for the aim down sight time, and then also you do get aiming stability, which is ideal. So overall, definitely a solid choice. There wasn't really any other attachment that I felt could go with this 5th attachment slot, to be perfectly honest with you. The magazine attachment isn't really too great. It kind of cons your aim down sight time a bit too much. Ammunition attachments, I would have liked something with that bullet velocity there, but there's nothing really that's going to help with that. And then the barrel, to be honest, again, cons your aim down sight time just a bit too much. Covert suppressor is the best suppressor in the game, in my opinion. For most weapons, it doesn't con your aim down sight time at all. For some guns, it cons it a little, but not as nearly as much as some of the other suppressors in the game, so that's why I do think it's the best choice. Now, you do obviously get your recoil smoothness, which isn't really too important, but you also do get recoil control as well with this one. When you attachment tune this, you do want to go max aim down sight speed. That's because recoil smoothness doesn't really do too much in this game. Now, if it is an assault rifle or a long range weapon, I would still recommend bumping that up just in case it does help with a little bit, right? You just want to make sure. But when it comes to sniper support weapons or close range weapons, then I would still max out that aim down sight speed just to make sure we are as snappy as possible. And then keep the bottom slider in the middle, because when it comes to bullet velocity and idle stability, you kind of want to keep a balance on both of those. Taking us into the firing range now, as you can see, at close range, absolutely beams. Medium range, pretty decent. Super long range, you're going to struggle a bit, to be honest, I'm not going to lie. But again, it's not really made for that range. That is where you should be using your sniper, to be perfectly honest, around about that 50 meter mark. But again, at this close range here, you're not really going to be missing shots at all with this gun. And like I said, you can change the optic if you like. Next up, we've got the most popular sniper support gun in this game right now. That's the KASTOV-762. Everyone's using this already, to be perfectly honest. I don't really need to talk too much about it besides the actual build itself. Obviously, it performs extremely well at pretty much all ranges. So that is why it's a really popular choice. It did get a bit of a nerf when it comes to like aim down sight and movement speeds, I think, with the most recent update. But it's still a solid choice, to be honest. It's still one of the most meta sniper support weapons. Again, we're using the McAree stock here, and that's going to help with the sprint to fire and aim down sight time. Attachment tuning's the same as before. Idle stability and then aim down sight speed here is what we're focusing on. Again, I'm using the Slimline Pro. You could choose whatever you like here. Attachment tuning, once again, is exactly the same. Max at the aim down sight speed and then put the position to as far as possible. Again, like I said, you could choose whatever you want. Just make sure the tuning of the attachments are the same. Then when it comes to the underbarrel grip, which is what I would recommend on this gun, you do want to have the phase 3 grip. The phase 3 grip is the best grip in the game, when it comes to controlling that side-to-side recoil. This gun does have a bit of side-to-side recoil, and you do want to control it. Also with the attachment tuning, you can see that here. You want to max out recoil stabilization and idle stability. Obviously, when it comes to the actual grip itself, it helps with idle stability, hip-fire accuracy, which is actually kind of useful considering it's a sniper support, and then recoil stabilization, which is pretty much one of the most important stats in the game. We are using a 45 round mag here because we definitely need it. 30 rounds is just not enough, especially on Warzone anyway, with that extra health, especially if you're coming up against opponents that have 3 armor plates. And then when it comes to the covert suppressor, once again, very similar to before, on assault rifles, it doesn't con your aim down sight time at all, so you might as well go for it. And then when it comes to attachment tuning, you want to go all the way down towards aim down sight speed, and then also you want to basically keep the bottom part in the middle there, the bottom slider, because we want to keep the idle stability and bullet velocity. Again, taking us into the firing range, at this close range it's super good, but even at long range you can still land your shots, to be perfectly honest with you. Obviously keep in mind we don't got any barrels on this build, but that's because we're trying to keep the snappiness of the weapon as well. So if you are trying to hit your shots at super long range, I mean, it's not going to perform as good as some assault rifles or maxed out range builds on this gun. Next up, we've got the WARZONE, and again, a similar case with this one. Attachments are very similar to the 74U, and that's because it's in the same weapon family as well, so it kind of makes sense. And basically this whole weapon family in general is probably like the best sniper support guns in the game, so that makes it ideal, especially when you're trying to level them up. But the WARZONE, again, very, very solid choice. When it comes to the stock, again, we're choosing the MINIBAK stock. Again, it's going to give you the same pros and cons as before. Aim down sight, sprint to fire, crouch movement speed, and then attachment tuning, again, is exactly the same as before. Max out to idle stability, max out to aim down sight speed. Again, I'm choosing the Slimline Pro here with the same attachment tuning. Once again, eye position far and aim down sight time maxed out. Again, we're choosing the phase 3 grip here because I do think it's the best at controlling the recoil of this weapon. I have played around with the barrel attachment here that helps with bullet velocity and control. That also works really well too. I just feel like it cons your aim down sight just a little bit too much compared to just using the phase 3 grip, but you can play around with that one because the barrel attachment is actually pretty solid on this gun too. But again, with the phase 3 grip, you could choose the same recoil control or the recoil stabilization for this matter, and idle stability tuning here. Then when it comes to the mags, we are choosing the 45 round mags, and that's just because it's the largest ones available. And then again, we're choosing the FSS covert suppressor with the same attachment tuning, aim down sight speed, leave the bullet velocity slider in the middle. Again, testing in game, as you can see here, super low recoil gun. This is probably one of the only ones that feel actually pretty decent at range as well, especially for such like a kind of hybrid build of this gun. You can still land your shots. There's a bit of side-to-side bounce there, but it's not too much comparing it to the first two weapons. Next up, we've got a gun you've all probably leveled up by now, and that's the M4. This gun is very similar to the way it was in Modern Warfare 2019. The fact that it's very well balanced at all ranges, and the build does change slightly to make it a sniper support weapon, but it's still a solid choice, to be perfectly honest with you. You can't really go wrong with the M4 at all in this game. So when it comes to the stock attachment, we are using the Tempest strike stock. It's basically the same kind of pros and cons as the MINIBAK on the other weapons we showed previous, but it gives you sprint speed, aim down sight speed, crouch movement speed, aim down sight speed. It cons your recoil, but nowhere near as much as the buffer tube, so I don't recommend the buffer tube whatsoever. When it comes to attachment tuning, we are maxing out aim down sight speed, and we are maxing out aiming idle stability, because that's the most important recoil stat in my opinion. Optics, we can skip over this one because the iron sights on the M4 are relatively clean in my opinion. If you were to put an optic on there, the attachment I recommend removing is the laser, but the reason I have the laser on there is because this is more of a long range kind of weapon, and having the laser that improves your aim down sight time just a bit will definitely make this feel more like a snappier weapon and compete with some SMGs in the game. So it does give you aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed bonus. Then we are using the covert V suppressor, which we've definitely tested on the M4, and it doesn't con aim down sight time whatsoever on this weapon, so definitely the best suppressor choice in this game. Obviously you can see it gives you bullet velocity as well as recoil smoothness, and then also helps with aim down sight speed con there, but again it doesn't really con it as we've said before. So when it comes to the sliders, you want to go more towards aim down sight speed, and then also When it comes to the bullet velocity slider, we're not touching that once again. And then we are using the phase 3 grip. Again, I think is the best grip for controlling that side-to-side recoil. Again, it's going to help with the idle stability. It also helps with hip fire accuracy, which again does help in this case because we're using it as sniper support, recoil stabilization, and then when it comes to attachment tuning, it's the same as before. So more towards recoil stabilization, more towards idle stability. And then we are using the 45 round mag. We do not need 60 rounds. It's going to con your aim down sight way too much. So as you can see here, aim down sight is not super slow, and obviously you can hit your shots at range as well. We'll try and shoot this far away target here just to see what we can do with this gun. But again, it's a pretty solid weapon when it comes to this kind of close range right here. And you can see that 45 round mag is more than enough at this range because you won't be missing too many shots. Last but not least, when it comes to sniper support weapons, we do have the VEL-46. Now, this is not like the most strongest choice when it comes to sniper supports, but it's definitely still viable as a sniper support weapon, especially if you do like this weapon overall, because it is a good SMG and it also can work at longer ranges for you as well. The optic, again, we're using the Slimline Pro with the same attachment tuning. I haven't maxed out this weapon just yet, but again, you could use the same attachment tuning as before. Again, with the laser, you want the one that helps with aim down sight speed and aiming stability and sprint to fire speed. There's no attachment tuning on this one, so just keep that in mind. 50 round mags, 60 rounds is overkill in my opinion. You don't really need it. 50 rounds is kind of perfect. Then we've got the phase 3 grip. Again, you could choose the same attachment tuning as before. I don't want to spend too much time on that either, to be honest. And then we're using the covert suppressor, and again, you could choose the same attachment tuning as before. Like I said, I haven't actually maxed out this weapon yet, but testing this gun, even out to range, is still not too bad. You can still land your shots, and it still works as a super solid sniper support weapon. Again, you can tune it to make it a little bit better for recoil control at range, and it will give you a bit more aiming stability and basically aim down sight speed as well. So there we have it. Those are 5 best sniper support weapons that are currently inside Warzone 2. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.